Hello, Mr. Olmert, Prime Minister. Thank you so much for being with us.
I'm delighted.
So, first of all, I would like to ask you, do you think that this operation on the ground in the section of Gaza is needed? Do you support this idea?
Look, I definitely support any measures that Israel will take in order to defeat the Hamas organization, which is a terrorist organization. It's like ISIS, like Taliban, like Al-Qaeda, the organization of murderers and killers that have committed the worst atrocities against innocent civilians in their homes and killed approximately 1,500, most of them civilians. So something must be done to them. If the Israeli army will decide that ground operation is needed in order to remove Hamas from leading Gaza, which for me is a prerequisite for any peace process. If we will remove the Hamas from Gaza, it will open up an opportunity to move forward towards peace with the Palestinians.
All right, but obviously you watch international TV channels, and you, of course, you know what is the reaction on this operation coming from the Western journalists and different politicians. They are really concerned about the future of civilians in Gaza. What do you think about that? How can Israel actually protect these people on the ground, people who are not involved in any politics or any Hamas decisions?
That's not quite accurate. We have to understand something, which we try to explain. Unfortunately, I'm not in the cabinet. I'm not speaking for the government. I may have a different an attitude about the Israeli government, which is not different from some outside of Israel. But the efforts that we are making is to try and refrain from affecting innocent civilians living in the center of Gaza. Now, we have to act. The Hamas organization has its headquarters, its command positions, it's the launchers where they shoot the missiles from, the weapons hangars, everything is in the center of town. So there are two options. One is to ignore the fact that it is in the center of town and to attack it, and the collateral damage will be devastating. The alternative is to move out the population from the center of towns, and so the collateral damage will be the minimum possible, and that's what we are trying to do. And we will provide together with other countries, we will provide the humanitarian needs of the population that will pull out from the center of Gaza into the south, as we proposed. This is precisely in order to defend innocent civilians. But let's not kid ourselves. Innocent civilians were killed in Israel by Hamas, and their purpose and their focus of what they were trying to do is to kill innocent people. They beheaded children. They raped the mothers, and then they shot their mothers on the head. They killed and they raped and they butchered elderly people, 80 years old, 85 years old, and so on and so forth. This can't be left without a response, and there will be a response. And who knows better than you that sometimes when you have to respond, there are people that are affected, unfortunately, without any bad purpose from our side.
Of course. So when you talk about the prospects of this conflict, when we talk about the prospects, there is always a question about the third party, about the involvement of Iran, which has actually made a statement today accusing Israel in everything, which is a usual thing, but also threatening Israel. What do you think about that? Are you expecting Iran to get seriously involved in this war?
Iran is seriously involved already. They have masterminded this operation, and there's no question about it. Hamas is the long arm of Iran. Hezbollah in the north is the long arm of Iran. Both are financed, are equipped, are supported logistically with weapons, with money, with strategic needs from day one. So Iran is involved. The question is whether Iran will increase its involvement and will directly attack the state of Israel. I think that if they will do it, it will be a grave mistake on their side. And everyone that can, and I hope that Russia, which maintains good relations with Iran, will do everything in her power to influence the Iranians to stay away from this. Because you know that the President of the United States, who is going to be visiting us tomorrow morning, already ordered two aircraft carriers to come close to the Middle East with the most sophisticated planes and the most sophisticated and long-range missiles. And they have come expressly in order to signal to Iran that they better stay out of any direct involvement with Israel. So let the Iranians continue their operations through Hamas, if they want also through Hezbollah. But I think that it will be a grave mistake on their side if they will intervene directly. The response will be devastating and shattering.
Mm-hmm. I've heard you mentioned Russia's role here, and you know what position is officially taken by Vladimir Putin and Minister of Foreign Affairs Lavrov and others. They are actually very supportive of Israel, and they are accusing Israel in unproportional response to what's going on. You know, why do you think that Russia would try to talk Iran out of this conflict?
Look, I know Vladimir Putin very well. I can say that.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
He considered me as a friend of his, and I considered him as a friend of mine, and we used to have a dialogue for many, many years. He knows better. I am a little bit disappointed, I have to say, not maybe a little bit, more than a little bit, because Vladimir Putin knows very well that the Hamas is a terrorist organization. He knows very well what they were doing. He knows very well that they are responsible for blowing these terrible atrocities against innocent Israeli civilians. And we have different attitudes about, he had different attitudes with the Prime Minister of Israel, not with me. When I was Prime Minister, we had a very broad-based agreement and understanding about how the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has to be resolved. And I have proposed to the Palestinians a solution and a plan which may have resolved all these outstanding issues. But the Palestinians at that time, Abu Mazen, didn't have the courage to go along with it, regrettably. But President Putin knows exactly, and if President Putin wants, I hope, he can use his influence with Iran. He has become friendly with Iran. At the time that I was Prime Minister, we used to talk a lot about Iran, and he was a lot more cooperative with me at that time than he is now with the Israeli government. But I think that he has a certain emotional commitment to the Jewish people and to Israel. That's what he used to say to me all the time. So I expect him as such to use his power of persuasion in order to influence the Iranians and to stay out of it. I don't want him to fight for me. I don't want Putin to do anything other than this, to use his influence in order to stop the Iranians from blowing this conflict into areas that might jeopardize the stability of the entire Middle East.
Well, I'm just not sure that it is of his interest right now to talk to Iran and ask Iran not to be involved in this.
Why wouldn't you check with him?
Do you think that Vladimir Putin still has this warm feeling towards Israel?
Putin? Why wouldn't you check with President Putin? call him and ask to interview him. Tell him that
he never answers my questions.
That Ehud Olmert said that he can do a very good job influencing Iran. See what he says.
He knows that, I suppose. I was just wondering, do you still think of him as your friend?
We look right now. We are in a position which you can't talk and you can't check with each other what we think about many things that are going on. I never fought with Putin. I always respected him. I always felt that he has a respect for my country, and that we could talk about many things. We disagreed quite a lot on different issues, but we always held our relations in mutual respect, and I believe that it exists today on my side and on his side.
Okay, I got it. And I was wondering, what would be your take on this moment, historical moment in which Israel is right now? What would be Israel's future after this terrible episode of Israel's history? Because it's really devastating. But how do you see the prospects?
Look, we've been through many things. There are very few people in the history of mankind which have gone through the miseries, the difficulties, the pains, the persecutions, disasters that we've been through, and we always prevailed. And we have established one of the most successful countries in the world, and quite a strong country, strong economy, strong society, perhaps the most sophisticated technology in the world. And sometimes it led us into areas of overconfidence, which was the main cause of the failure of the Israeli intelligence and the Israeli Secret Service in the last couple of weeks, regrettably. But if someone will misinterpret it, that this is a weakness that will break down Israel, he's terribly mistaken. Israel is enormously powerful. The spirit of the Israeli society today, and this is the same society that rioted and demonstrated against the Israeli government. And in a short while, when this is over, they will again do everything possible in order to get rid of this government, which has failed Israel in many different things, including in this one. But the spirit of Israel, the strength of the camaraderie and the solidarity of the Israeli society is enormously powerful, and the Israeli army will do what needs to be done in order to defeat those who challenged Israel and who challenged Israeli civilians in such a brutal manner.
Yeah, this is what I hear from other Jewish friends, people who are in Israel, and also my relatives in Israel. Final thing, you have mentioned Joseph Biden's visit to Israel. It's tomorrow, and Antony Blinken has visited Israel twice already during this period of time. And also, we're hearing this news about U.S. Marines who are already actually there in Israel. Do you think that United States of America is actually ready to get involved and to defend, to put the boots on the ground if necessary?
You don't have to be so much scared of the Americans. They are not so bad. I don't think that they are really, that they desire or that they want. I'm kidding you.
Not at all.
I'm kidding you. I don't think that they want to intervene directly in any military confrontation. The reason that they brought the aircraft carriers and the Marines is to signal to anyone that wants to join into this party that they are there to try and block the expansion of this confrontation beyond what is essential and necessary as a result of what Hamas did. And I think that most likely it will remain on this level. There are no American soldiers in Israel, by the way. The American Marines may come to the Middle East. They probably are on the American carriers, but they are not inside Israel. And as I said, I think that the American president, this is my assumption. I'm not, as I told you already, and I think you know,
I said close to Israel.
of the cabinet. I'm not a member of the government, so I'm not in the decision-making process. But I think that the Americans want to keep this conflict to the minimum necessary in order to achieve the immediate goals that Israel has set out, and not more than that.
We operated in Russia for 12 years, and the government tried to get rid of us 3 times. They got us on the 6th day of the war in Ukraine.
Мы временно приостанавливаем работу телеканала.
We left Russia, but we kept going. We have now decided to tell the truth about Russia, the war, and Russian society in English as well.
Kherson is Putin's 3rd major defeat in a row.
What is wrong with the Russian army?
Stories no one else can tell you. Hear it right from the source. Subscribe to our channel.